you, beloved and holy friend. Thank you for joining me again on another conscious evolution. Today's stream topic is about how we are made to last. You know, yesterday I watched athletes compete in a slapping competition. And after you watch people take slaps as powerful as anyone can expect someone to slap another person lands, and then they walk away from it afterwards. They walk away from it afterwards, thinking about the fact that you have come a very far time, a far while, a long road, on this treacherous path that we call being a human being. And you have gone through things that a fragile being wouldn't have been able to survive. Not only emotionally, but physically, but especially so when it comes to our psychology as well. Right? Like, I feel like the human being is something very resilient. And I want to give honor to that part of ourselves. Give honor to that part of myself, at the very least. I feel more tired than I'm supposed to be. I think I did wake up earlier than I intended to. It's my mom's birthday today. We sang for her and it was nice. Being able to celebrate our love. My mom lasted another year. Sounds so scuffed when we say it like that. But we are made to last. We're not made to die, are we? I don't think so. I don't think so. I want us to live longer than we've ever lived before. I want my mom and my dad to live longer than any child could have expected their parents to live before. And I wonder if it will come in time. I trust that it will come in time for me. Looked at myself actively aging. I hope so. But in doing so, what am I doing? What am I doing in the meanwhile? I am trying to practice yoga. I think that helps us last. I am trying to be mindful of the food I'm eating. That helps us last. I heard some good news about Ozempic apparently being longevity boosting as well. I don't have access yet, but these things are slowly but surely coming online. Being made to last, maybe, right? Right? That's why I'm bringing today's stream topic into this space. Because I think we're made to last. I think we're pretty resilient. I think, again, it's like a flexibility thing. If you want something to last, at least in some applications, building in a certain level of flexibility helps. Stress reliefs, And I feel we human beings have this unique ability to do that with and for ourselves. Like this, for example. Right? This exists in my world. I have some blunicorn in here. And this is a literal stress relief. I have many things on my mind actively. And longevity is one of them. The future. I think about the future more than I would like to admit. For someone who talks a big talk about being present, I am stuck in the future for a lot of my time. And very much from the perspective of wanting to be prepared, wanting to take care of my future self, wanting to take care of my future children, if there will be any, wanting to take care of my future employees, right? And even though I am doing everything in my power to, I still feel like I'm falling short. And then at the same time, I have to recognize that what I consider falling short might be a great success to another person. and then I have to last. Right, I'm just gonna like stick it through. If vampires were in charge of the humans stuck on this planet, you can bet they'd be better off if only they'd be tastier. You think so, Sam? You think so? You don't think the vampires will fast foodify blood too? Isn't True Blood and a vampire show about that? Fast foodify the freaking planet. What I call feeling short, falling short. Yo, I think we've talked about your unreasonably. I don't think it's unreasonable, actually. That's the thing. That's the thing that I'm stuck on, maybe a little bit, because I don't feel it's unreasonable. And if again, like the reason I feel like I'm falling short is because I'm not I'm not seeing the results I'm expecting. Was that 2 days ago stream topic? Right. I want to see results. I'm not seeing any results. I feel like again that's where I get stuck. It's like I have a certain level of patience, but the discomfort in the moment makes it impossible for me to be, almost. Like I'm uncomfortable a lot of the time these days. And it's mostly, like living living discomforts. Literally the discomfort that comes with living and having to pay for this experience. Having to pay to go places, paying for things once you get to those places. And again, I'm not uncomfortable by the fact that I have to pay for things. In fact, I really enjoy it brings me a sense of pride and fulfillment to be able to pay my bill, right? To support the business, if you will. The discomfort comes from feeling like I'm not able to do that, or I do not have that, again, mobility or freedom. And yes, like I get it, Sam. I get it that it might be a high expectation, but it's a matter of pride, I think, more than anything. Because when it came to my proficiency tests, I was supposed to be a chemical engineer. And, if I followed that timeline, I would have been in a lab somewhere. Probably not today because it's Sunday, but I would have been in a lab 9 to 5, making a lot more money than I'm making right now. Maybe being able to afford a car, maybe being able to start saving for a home of my own at some point, right? My dad, at my age, was already a homeowner, and my brother is on his way there as well, right? And it's not like I'm being pressured. It's not like my dad's sending me messages or my brother is sending me messages. It's much more of a pride. It's a pride thing, Sam. It's like the ego in me wants to succeed, to prove its own worth in one way or another. And the fact that it's not succeeding as fast as it wants to feels like proof of its unworthiness. Right. And I don't exactly know how to switch that off. I have to stop being uncomfortable to switch that off because again, it's like a trigger. Like I feel the discomfort of of having to think about certain things, and then that discomfort of having to think about those things brings up the problem solver in me, and then that problem solver starts identifying problems to be solved. And one of those problems is the fact that things are not happening fast enough. And then I have like the yogic wisdom in the back of my head that is reminding me to not wish my life away. So yeah, I will take from these experiences. My mind is Like I'm literally thinking about not thinking about things. And as I'm trying to think about not thinking about things, my mind starts thinking about things to think about. No, please. I will do that tomorrow. That thing you're thinking about. It's Sunday. Leave people alone. All right. All right. Tangent. You don't think vampires with fast food will for your blood? Nah, that shit costs money. Money they want for their crushed velvet Divian and goth boots. I don't think they need money. I would like to believe a vampire society would go without money. You know, they would probably. I'm not gonna go down this. This is too cursed. I should stop. You choose to be a hippie. Part of the bargain is accepting the humble bardic lifestyle of your predecessors. Maybe, maybe Sam. May, maybe indeed. I don't know if I'm happy with that though. I think that's maybe in part where the glitch is happening as well. I had this whole stream topic a while ago now about doing your own thing, right? Specifically as a reminder to not always be in the state of looking what other people are doing, and thinking how you can do that as well. Because I remember at one point in my existence, a very large portion of it was dedicated to imagining myself doing the thing uh, I was seeing. Right. For a while, it was underwater welding. You would get paid a lot of money, and there was a high risk of dying. So, to my depressed teenage self, that felt like the perfect occupation. I might die, which is great, and I'll get paid a lot if I don't die, which is also great, right? And then that changed. Then it was this thing, then it was that thing. Then I'm gonna now do this and do that. And then fortunately with the stream, I actually started doing something that I wanted to do, you know. And that took a lot of almost again expectations, you know, unreasonably high expectations, Sam. That was the only way that started happening, was the unreasonably high expectation. And it has changed my life. But again, from that place of unreasonably high expectations, that version of me that had those unreasonably high expectations believed that if my ego could conform, could manage the unreasonably high expectations I had of it, that would be enough. And in the meanwhile, I have applied 4 more layers. Yeah. 4 more layers of unreasonably high expectations. And it's still not enough, Sam. I'm still not making ends meet. I have 73 Rand right now. Right? I'm waiting for cash to come in. That is like four. It's like $4. I have $4 right now. You know, it is end of month, so you know it's a part of it right now. But it's not a very comfortable place to be in. It's not a very comfortable place to be in. So yeah, I don't think the expectations have any room to stop. Dropping to say hello and getting ready to go away for a few days. Enjoy the day. Bless. Thank you, Nancy, for the reminder. I will. And it's still not enough. Take a lesson from the crackheads. It ain't ever gonna be enough. Take a lesson from the crackheads. It's not a sentence that I hear every day. I'm gonna heat my Dynavap. I've been holding on to it this whole time. My intention is to feel like I'm enough. I can do that. On that level, I do feel like I am at least meeting expectations. Like I am enough. I am doing enough. Enough is not enough. That sounds like such a fucking scuffed slogan. Enough is not enough. If you think you've done enough, try doing more. Yeah, that's that premium millennial wisdom derived from my nihilistic existence. Yeah, I'm not really nihilistic. I'm pretty optimistic. I think that's also in part why I'm impatient. Is because the optimism doesn't want to go away. And it's almost like the optimism is scared it will. So it optimisms impatiently. You know what I mean? No, I'm scared that I will lose my optimism in the process. I was thinking about Christian today, right? Thinking about the very first time that he invited me out to come and stay with him. It was still within the first year of us doing our streams. I had not earned any money. And I remember him being like, "What are you doing, bro? How do you think this is gonna work?" And that version of me strongly believing that there's no way for it not to work, right? I have this unreasonably high expectation, I say to myself. How could it work? And maybe it still will. Maybe it still will. Maybe that's gonna be the joke, right? In the process of making this work, I'll have to make everything else work, and then by the time this starts working, I won't need it to anymore. Which seems like an absolute joke that I'm going to laugh at when I get there, but it's still not that funny to this version of me. I don't find it funny myself. I say to me, I wish I could send future wealth back to my past self. Wouldn't that be great? My future self doesn't like the idea of that at all. Bruh, come on. No. Come on, dude. You get future money, so why not? I like pie. Yeah, I haven't had any pie in a long time. Like a very, very long time myself. I'm trying to think. I remember in grade 6, my grandma came to visit. And I remember watching on TV some sort of episode of something, movie of something, and they had apple pie in this movie. And this was like not the first time, of course, I've heard of apple pie, but it was particularly poignant in that moment, and I felt called to make apple pie as well. My grandma let me know that she already has an apple pie recipe, and then we do the effort to make some apple pie. And I sit down to try some of it, and it's horrible. Still to this day, one of the worst things I've ever eaten. Right? I really enjoy a fresh apple. Like really enjoy a fresh apple. Right? And I don't know why, but I guess a part of me wanted that freshness from the apple pie. Right? I expected it to be delightful. But then it was soggy apple that is like cinnamon flavored, cinnamon sugar flavored soggy apple. And I was like, this is bad. This is so bad. And then I took it to school and I gave it to my least favorite teacher. Huh. I don't know what that was. the bank is taking its cut. Literally. As we're talking about capital, I get sent a notifications like we're actually taking some cash. Just so you know. All we can do is try to do the next right thing and make the next right decision and trust. This is true, Mojo. All we really have to do right now is survive. The world is changing right in front of our eyes. And all you have to manage right now is to stay alive. Don't die. Right? We are playing the game of don't die right now, as Brian Johnson likes to say. Don't die, yo. And I'm winning. I'm doing that. I'm not dying right now. Maybe that's the way we can bring ourselves back. And today's stream topic is about that, right? Being made to last. Being made to last. Don't die, friend. Continue living. And in doing so, maybe we'll see some cool things. Maybe. And if not, then you can be like, you were wrong, Melt, when we get there. Okay? Sound fair? I hope so. I'm gonna crush a little bit more. That was the last. That was the last of my unicorn. But I have some hella jelly in here. Smells delightful. This is a delightful strain, right? Again, and I used that word when it came to the whole apple pie conversation. Delightful to me means something that makes you go, oh, this is nice. This is so nice. I like this. All right, crusher. Again, best way to describe this is some jelly candies. And then you open the bag of said jelly candies and you smell all of those delicious smells. Made to last. Unfortunately, the bud isn't made to last. Anything else, everything else in our lives almost isn't, you know? And today's stream topic was in part actually inspired by thinking about vehicles. You know? Like there is this weird built-in narrative in my brain where it wants to earn a salary, and then because it earns a salary it will have a list of bank statements, and because list of bank statements it will be able to go to a bank and get financing, and then because of financing we'll be able to drive a car of choice, right? And said car of choice is electric. That's unfortunately how the narrative goes, right? And there is some ego involved in that, with like the whole optics, how it looks, driving a car, nice or not, how it looks driving a car, combustion or not, right? Both from the society perspective and from my own ego perspective, how I want to see myself, right? And then there is the recognition, the acknowledgement that if I'm going to buy myself a car, in the same way with my clothing, it shouldn't be something that I plan on replacing anytime soon, right? That the first car I buy myself, I should drive literally until I can't anymore. And then again, it brings me back to wanting to buy something that is made to last. So I think maybe the year 2026, maybe I'll buy myself a car in the year 2026. Because then it will be 2 years extra on the timeline of tech. It will be 2 years extra on the timeline of relationships between China and my country. It'll be 2 years of timeline for me to make enough money to be able to afford a car. And then, especially and specifically, the year 2026, March, end of March, there is legislation coming into order that is giving electric vehicle manufacturers in our country 150% subsidy for investments or something like that, which basically just means that we might end up having local production, which could also help drive down the prices. So in that way, what I'm doing is I am making it last. I don't know if I'm making my anxiety last until then, but maybe I can decouple my need of things to the year 2026. And I can, as Sam called me to do, live the bardic lifestyle of my predecessors for the next 2 years. Jeez, that's a tall order, Sam. Wanting to buy something that is made to last, r slash BIFL is a subreddit for things like that. Built to fucking last. I guess that's the way it should be. Yeah, like this. Like the Dinovac. Built to last. Go and buy yourself one. I should at the very least become an affiliate. So if you do decide to buy one, you can enter my code. 2 years of relationship between China and my country. How do you feel about that as someone who spent time in the country? What we see here on it is focuses on exploitative Chinese business owners. Buy it for life. Ah, that's nice. Okay. Having been there, I can tell you that they have a real focus on optics. They have a real focus on infrastructure. They have a real focus on having nature be a part of their city building. Right? There are trees in the center of your streets. There are parks accessible. I never, in my time living in China, was more than 20 minutes away from a park, and a nice park. Like nicer parks that I've ever seen in my life living here in South Africa, right? I always, even in the small towns I was in, even in like the middle of nowhere, got put in a massive apartment by myself because that's how cheap it was, places. There was nice parks, right? Like that's the part of China that I miss the most, weirdly enough. Then it came to, again, infrastructure, like the amount of effort and the amount of money that has been put into making things work. When it came to the apps and getting a taxi to your door, to take you to the train station, to take you from train station to train station, from city to city, to get off in said city, right? Like that level of stuff, again, I live in South Africa. That is unseen to me. So that is amazing. I would love if we had more public transport, but we have none. We have the Gautrain, but again, if you don't live somewhere where the Gautrain is, it's not exactly very helpful. And again, it's so expensive as well that it's not even that feasible. What more? The way they push their kids is something that I really had like a little bit of issue with, because again, teaching kids English, 8 p.m. at night isn't my idea of right or good, you know. And again, You're like, oh Mel, just teach them earlier. I can't, because they literally have their whole days booked full with other curriculars, and then they have their English classes at the end of the day. So that's kind of wild. There is definitely a like living standards thing, right? Where the living standard has become like the cell phone in a way, where you kind of exist in a space, and that space needs to have the bare necessities, right? It needs to have a little kitchen where you can wash up and you can cook yourself something. You need to have a box within which you can wash yourself and wash your things, and sometimes it's literally a box, right? Like literally, this space I'm sitting in, plus maybe you see maybe half an arm's length, right? And then to my arm where it ends, like that was literally my shower and my toilet and my washing machine room. Not fun. But again, outside of you doing your necessities, you cooking your food in your small kitchen and you washing your body, you're going to the bathroom in your small bathroom, you're in your room with an air conditioner on your cell phone. And then you can use that cell phone to order food to your door, and a lot of people do. And that has almost become the wealth. I noticed, at least when I was in China, like very few people can afford, at least with the people that I was having conversations with, can afford, to buy a home. But there was these again standards of living, access to stuff that no generation previously have had. And there's a whole generation of people that moved into the cities to have that standard of living, as opposed to being out in nature in the more rural sides of the country. So that's again the more people aspect. I didn't get to meet with the government kind of vibes, so I don't really have the access to have conversations directly. But unfortunately, as with many things, it is corruptible, right? That there might be this political party overarching, but when it comes to again the individual people, it's a matter of who you know, and if they know you and how much money you have, and in that way, it's just capitalism with extra steps. So the way that I see it is I want our country to have free trade with China for the good of our people, realistically. Because our country is so poor that China taking our country is going to be better for us than our country trying to manage by itself. The amount of money China has invested in manufacturing and telecommunications, it's just those two things, right? It's like, it's absurd. It is a little bit absurd. And our country has no chance of catching up when it comes to the amount of intellectual prowess we have, the amount of investment that is willing to be put towards developing our own technology. I don't think it's a bad thing, right? I don't think the Chinese are bad, to put it in so many words, right? I feel again we have been convinced for a very long time to be scared of other people. And the Chinese, to the American system's way of being, is the other. All right. But China has spent more money than any other country in Africa's development. Sure, maybe with sinister intent, they want our resources, but so does America. So do we. And in those resources being extracted by the investment from China, some of that resources do end up reaching our people. There's again a slew of corruption. Like only certain people are allowed to give the go ahead, and those kind of people end up keeping all of that wealth for themselves. Trickle down economics doesn't work. But again, at least when these massive global players come into these countries, they put down roads, they put down infrastructure, they put down, again, like just the medicine tech that's going to become available to us as well over the next few years. We're gonna need that stuff. We already are in need of that stuff, and America doesn't care, unfortunately, about Africa. Right? Like, and again, if you're like, oh, but Mel, America has cared about Africa in this way. This way is like by giving money, right? And again, that money hits this continent, and then it goes straight into the faces of a select few people. Where China's way of doing it is by bringing the resources, bringing the manpower, bringing the intellect, bringing the machinery, and then building infrastructure. Actually putting things down that is of value to everybody. And in that way, I welcome China. I welcome China into our country. It's not like it's my choice. It's already happening. Right? It's already happening. And maybe I will end up, like regretting these words one day. But it's not like we have much options. Our government is so incompetent. It is kind of ridiculous. They have a real focus on optics. Yeah, their hatred of the West, our one thing, made that pretty clear. It's true. Hey Bojo, blessings to you. Good morning. It's nice having you. Still sliding around for a couple of more days. Stepped on an oyster bed yesterday when I was taking pictures of the sunset. I have an ouch foot today. Jeez, bro. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you didn't get cut. I hope it just like hurt you by pushing, because that does not sound fun. I want our country to have free trade of China. Ultimately, that'll be up to South African government to allocate the dollars necessary to improve infrastructure to allow that kind of volume. No, actually it won't. Like China has already built ports in our country. Like they do that stuff too. Like they've put down. I wonder actually. Hey Google, how much has China invested in infrastructure in South Africa? China has invested 25 billion US dollars in South Africa alone. Some of its infrastructure projects in the country include the Small Harbor Development Project, the TVET Refurbishment Project, and the Mizubu Water Project. China's investments in South Africa have created over 400,000 jobs directly and indirectly. Yeah, and we're a country of like 65 million people, so creating 400,000 jobs is a big deal. The China's Belt and Road Initiative is a global infrastructure initiative and has said Chinese companies sign contracts worth over $700 billion in Africa between 2013 and 2023. However, some critics have accused China's investments in Africa of settling countries with debt and funding projects that harm the environment. China's investments in Africa are also seen as a way to secure political support and access to resources. Obviously, all right. You would have to be very stupid to not think that's what's happening. But again, you would also have to be very stupid to not realize that it's going to directly affect and help people's lives as well. All right. And again, you can cite all of the harm that can be done to other people's lives with mining, with displacement, etc., etc. Being a part of the human, species, one of billions, makes it a little bit complicated to just have like yeah, this is what's right and this is what's wrong. When it comes to what is helping right now, China has done a lot to help our country, to help Africa. And I am hopeful. I am hopeful. I am. I am worried at the same time again, especially so about censorship. But I don't think censorship can survive. Like, again, the entities fighting censorship are just as motivated, I think, even if not more so. than the other side of it. And I'm not talking about the platform X, please. I'm more talking about China literally having firewalls where you cannot access YouTube or Google or Facebook or Instagram or any of these platforms on their internet. That's what I'm talking about. That kind of censorship. No. And again, no, let's not. I'm putting down that track again. Trickle down economics only works with a pinata. The other great thing about China is you can say anything you want, read what you want, worship what you want, as long as it's what the government wants. Yeah. Yeah. That's the censorship. But again, the way I see it is with the articulation I had just a few seconds ago, with the being one of billions. China has a population of 1.3 billion humans. Can you actually fathom that? Right? Think about the complexities, about the day-to-day decision making, about the struggles of existing that it takes just to be you, just to be yourself. And then multiply that struggle, that complexity, that intricate decision making, that social interaction, that weekend, that on the way to traffic, that having electricity in your home, that eating food every single day times 1.3 billion. That's a fuck ton of complexity. And in that way, the Chinese government have created the systems that are in place, the censorship that's in place, probably because of that, as a symptom, to say it in so many words. And I would like to believe that as the internet gets better, there will be room for change. There will be room for change. The future is going to make us again and again. The way I see it is perspective. Like if your whole life has been surrounded by this perspective of this is how it is, being censored like this is how it is, then it's not that uncommon. However, the two assistant teachers that I was working with, one was gay, which is also frowned upon in China. So he had this demeanor of, I am against the system. And he was on Instagram and he liked watching YouTube videos. And he connected my phone to a like it looked like it was built by a rookie software engineer kind of app to get me onto a VPN network that didn't even have a name kind of vibes, like it was so out there. And I wasn't like NordVPN before, but those didn't work on that side, so I had to go to the source. And then Victoria, who was like an alt Chinese girl, like alternative, as in her head was shaved, she had hoops in her ears, she had tattoos all the way up to her neck, which is also, of course, frowned upon. And she also learned how to speak English by being on the internet and finding workarounds, finding VPNs. And because of that access to the internet, it has made them completely, this is how it is, right? I want my internet access and I'm going to get my internet access. Yes, I'm living in China. Yes, I'm not allowed to, but I am going to anyway. And they didn't get drawn and quartered for being gay and being alternative and having tattooed bodies as a woman, right? They were still allowed to live their existences. They might just not receive the same support for their way of being, And again, then we're back to the whole finances thing. Like they'll maybe be expected to live a more bardic lifestyle. Oh yeah, Mojo. That's part of their spending on the image and recreational facilities for the local Leos. Hey, Lane is here. Bless you, bro. How are you, lovely people? I'm feeling good, dude. I've been very, very occupied in work and thinking about ways of earning a little bit more capital so that I can find more comfort in my existence. but it is what it is. And it's nice having you here. Who Needs Tears is here with us as well. Bless you, friend. Shit has been shit, but it's basically spooky season, so I'm vibing. Glad to hear you're doing well, Sam. Bless. Yeah. Love is true. I have some hella jelly in here. I'm gonna add some heat to it. My intention. I feel you, Mel. Work. Is it time suck? I don't really mind work taking my time. Like not at all. Like I feel time is something you spend, and when I'm spending my time on work, I feel like I am adding value and I'm contributing good to the world. I think again it's more a matter of comparison. You know, knowing what an hour of a person's time is worth in America and what an hour of my time apparently, optically, is worth here in South Africa. And that comparison is obviously not good for me, but it is what's happening. Maybe I need to move to America. I have been thinking about it more and more as of late. Become a yoga teacher in America. That does 3D mapping on the side. Maybe I should move to America. It's a shithole country, Mel. You do know I live in Africa, Sam. You do know this, right? Like it's again, I don't think your country is a shithole. Not at all. You have wealth in ways that you cannot be taught. You have to know. You have to understand how wealthy you are. And the only way to understand that information is to not be born there. Unfortunately, Sam. Right? Like you have unfortunately been conditioned by abundance your entire lives. Like this sounds a little bit like, and it is. It is kind of like that. But I haven't had a solid piece of steak, right, since I left home in February. No, in January. That was the last time I could afford, and I'm saying afford liberally, to eat a piece of solid meat. Technically, I've eaten a piece of solid meat that was chicken breast, right? Technically. But steak is not something that can be a part of my budgeting, right? And again, woe is me. Oh, shame, Mel, you can't eat steak. Yeah. But again, that seems fucking stupid to me. Seems really stupid to me that I just can't do certain things. All right. And again, that's like this small level of it. I can't afford to eat steak. Never mind fucking own a home. Never mind any of these things. And then I again, right? Like I'm not trying to share this from the perspective of like, oh, you know, let's pat Melt on the back. No, absolutely not. What I'm trying to say is that all of this backing is creating very unreasonable expectations of myself. And it keeps putting me in this mindset of like, what can I do? What more can I do? What else can I do? What should I be doing? Am I doing something wrong? What the fuck? Why am I struggling so much? You know, is there something I don't know? Can somebody please tell me? Can somebody point me in the right direction? Why? Why is it so freaking hard? Oh, no. That's a great mindset about it. I try to be positive about my work and time. It's been getting in the way a lot of more important things to me. Yeah. I have been aware of that part as well. I feel like I've been lucky in a way where the work hasn't been impeding just yet. I mean, a little bit. I've been wanting to see Christian, and I've been working every weekend. And he's gonna be working tomorrow again. Yeah, tomorrow I'm going through to a birthday party. It's Annika's birthday party tomorrow. Alright. Melt, Canada, not US. Move to Canada. Yeah, like again, I don't really have a door into Canada. Uh, Unfortunately. You know, I live in Africa, Sam. The wealth inequality here is pushing people into homelessness left and right, while the upper class dreams about creating slaves from their worker pools. Yeah. Here in South Africa, Sam, 50, 50, half of people under the age of 30 are unemployed. They do not have work. 50% of us. Yeah. Like it's one thing to have had work and to have lost your work and then to become homeless. It's a whole other thing for 50% of people under the age of 30 to be workless, right? To not have a job. So, not having a job means you cannot have a home, Sam, to even get evicted from in the first place. 50% of people under the age of 30 are in that position here. Like, it's again, literally, those 50% of people would give anything to go and be a homeless person in America right now. That's the kind of vibes, you know. That is the kind of vibes. It is wild. Beef and bison steak are affordable on prairies, and you can buy directly from the farmer and rancher. That could be the way. It's old American dream of Christopher Columbus brought to life. Bison steak? How do you cook that, Lois? I haven't had bison steak myself. Where are you living these days, Mel? I've been so disconnected. I don't know. You moved. Yeah, I moved. Moved out of my dad's home. It's been, this has been the year of abundance. And I have spent the abundance that has been earned, but at least I have been allowed to, been able to take care of myself in the most part. And I feel like I am proud of that part. I'm living in Hartbeespoort right now. We did move to the Gauteng area to do some work. I started a company called MindMeld Visuals, where we do visuals for festivals. Technically, my company right now is doing brand management for a slapping competition, but we're doing visuals for festivals. That's what I want to be doing. That's what I want. I want a client. I want one client, realistically, that does like 4 festivals a year, that has like a $12,000 budget per festival for visuals. If I can get that, then I'll have less headaches. All right, significantly less headaches. That would be very nice. But I'm still working on that part. I'm still working on that part. We have done some work at least. We've done one festival completely unpaid. Technically, I had to pay for the software, which was like $50 to do that festival. Then that festival led into the second one, which was the Conclave Party, where we did get paid at least. We did 3D mapping and LED walls at the same time for that festival. And that client is going to do a festival every year, and we should have a lot more budget for our next party at least. So I'm looking forward to doing that work when it comes. But again, I can't bank on living here for one job a year. Unfortunately, not. So I'm I'm living that life of discovery, of learning the lessons. Bison is leaner than beef, so you have to make sure it doesn't turn out dry. Stewing is great, or just mix olive oil and butter for a steak or burger, and don't overcook. That's insane, Melty. It really is wild. It is wild. And again, uh, not to not to steer us in the wrong direction of what I mean with this conversation. I am extremely grateful for the help that you friends have brought into my life. Like your Patreon support and your support here on YouTube has made it possible for me to have food to eat. Right? Like that is the truth of the situation, and I appreciate that so much. I miss what you said about Canada. Canada is gonna be harder for me to reach Louisiana again, as a matter of work. I'm sure there are festivals in Canada, but there are more in America. And there's more money for that kind of thing in America as well, probably. Canada does sound nice though, I won't lie. Can you make bison tacos? I'm sure you can. I don't think anybody is gonna try and stop you. I'm gonna pull a card, and then we're gonna say goodbye for today. Yeah, we are made to last. This freaking financial system we find ourselves within, joblessness. This is not the truth of our experience. We are made to last, despite it. Of course, you can. You know something I don't, Louisiana? Hey Google, what are the requirements for a South African to be able to go to Canada? You need a TRV, a valid South African passport of at least 6 months, a recent passport size photograph, proof of financial support. Boom. Instantly, they're like, no, Melt. No, Melt. You have $4 in your bank account, bro. How the fuck are you gonna try and survive in Canada? No, you cannot come here. Denied. And then I like last time I had to pay, was it $150? Yeah. I had to pay $150 for them to deny me. And it's probably like that kind of money for the Canadian one as well. So like I make, 300 bucks of the Patreon, so like half the Patreon cash just to get told no doesn't seem fair. And then police clearance certificates that I can get at least. I am not a criminal. And then medical examination results. So I have to go and see a doctor as well to make sure that there's nothing wrong with me, so that I'm not trying to, probably take advantage of your medical system. I'm guessing. And then I have to also demonstrate language proficiency by taking an English language test. English language test? Yes, fails my test, gets denied as well. Such as an English International Language Testing System or Canadian English Language Proficiency Index Program. And then I have to convince an immigration officer that I have ties to my home country, such as a job, a home, financial assets, and family. And then if I got all of those things, then maybe I can come to Canada. So number one, I don't have the money to, so denied. Number two would probably be the whole not having a job, because I'm a live streamer, which doesn't count as a job. I don't have an employer, so denied. I do not have a home because I can afford one, so I don't have that asset slash liability on my name, denied. I have no financial assets like a car, which is on my name, which I have to pay back, which would again give me a reason to have to return home, denied. And then family, I do have family at least, right? That I could maybe get away with. And I should be able to pass my English proficiency test. Good enough. But yeah, like living in Africa is an experience. I think the whole segregation is the biggest thing, right? Like the Americas, and I think just the Americas like sanctioned our country because of segregation before I was born even, right? And there's still like segregation built into your whole like visa system, like right there. Oh, you're poor? Yeah. Guess you're staying home, bratanas. You know, want a better life? Tough luck. Not our problem. Not our problem. And thus we go back to my original point. Y'all would be better off with vampire administration. That's all just to be a tourist. Yeah. That's not even like moving there. That's just to be a tourist. And I gathered all of that stuff, right? And you're like, "Oh, Mel, surely you could ask your dad to like front his finances in order to go." So last time when I wanted to go to America, my tickets were already paid for. A friend called Amanda that I met in yoga teacher training was willing to sponsor me. So she bought the tickets, both the flight there and the flight back home, already paid for. And then with those flight tickets printed out, I again went through the paperwork process. I got my financial statements from my dad, so he could technically back me if he needed to. I got financial statements from Amanda that she could back me if I landed there. Then I also asked a bunch of you friends to write me letters of intent, giving me your addresses and even having to give me a power bill, you know, so like as a proof of address that you paid your power recently. And then I compiled all of that, you know, into folders as well. I again my dad's finance statements there as well. And what else did I bring as an extra layer of bruh? Plane tickets, letters from three different people of where I'm going to be staying, finances from my dad, and probably something I'm missing, you know, another extra thing that they wanted that I had and I was still denied. Right? So that was like very rough. I'm still upset about that. But it is easier for you friends from America to come and see me here in South Africa. Ask me how I know. And then I have to convince an agent I care about my family. Well, shit, buddy. We'll start the fund for your banana crate. Yeah. Ja, is so. Is ervaring. When I was just out of college a long time ago, they let me cross the Canadian border with nothing but an expired driver's license. Wouldn't be the case now, of course. Yeah. There's so much papierwerk these days. It's fucking bullshit, yeah. I also had weed in my shoe at the time. Nice. Love is true. Those border agents asked themselves how much damage can one American hippie do, and elected not to process the paperwork. That is kind of funny. We'll let this one slide. Meanwhile, that's the hippie that overthrows the government. Part of my mind, you know, it's idyllic like that. Hey! I just pulled a hair out of my head. And I also pulled this card twice. I pulled this card accidentally from the top of the deck and looked at it, but didn't show you friends. And then I put it back in the deck and then proceeded to shuffle said deck and then pulled it again. So I guess this is the card we're supposed to be pulling. Mojo, that's hilarious. Expired license and weed in your shoe. Now you need a passport. And they have weed sniffing dogs. Jeez. Start smelling your shoes. They won't even need dogs anymore, Lois. It's so fucking stinky now. Yeah. The people's senses are strong enough. I'm going to experiment. See if these weed claims are true. This one isn't stinky. I mean, it smells like weed, but it also smells more like fruit than it smells like weed. Like again, if I had to crush a spoonful of this and tell you to open wide and say ah, and you could only smell the contents of what I was saying ah for, you would probably, commit to the bite. You would, and I'm not joking about this. I'm pretty sure the average person would think this is candy. Sam, you're not wrong. 9/11 changed things in a big way. There's a lot to be said, but I will say nothing instead. Maybe just comment on how we're built to last. More so emotionally and psychologically than physically, maybe. But we did pull the Warrior Woman card today, so I feel like that's also very apt. Have you answered your deepest calling? Have I answered my deepest calling? This is my deepest calling, I believe. I think maybe in part that's why I worry so much. Because I've been doing a bunch of other things that's not necessarily my deepest calling. And then at the same time, I acknowledge that a part of my deepest calling is learning and gaining experience from this universe so that when I come into this space for my deepest calling, I can be a more full individual in the thing, in this conversation, in this conscious evolution that we are participating within. Yeah, that feels apt. I like that. That was a good poem, Mel. There's a lot to be said, but I'll say nothing instead. Especially with that topic. Bless you. That is 3/4 of the way to a haiku. You need 3 more syllables. There's a lot to be said, but I'll say nothing instead. Especially when talking about it. There's a lot to be said, but I'll say nothing instead when talking about it. Is that the haiku? Boom. You need 3 more syllables. Finish the haiku. I was encouraged before I even realized. If there's a there's a lot to be said when talking about it, but I'll say nothing instead. Maybe that's the haiku. Lot to be said, but I will say nothing instead. I believe there's I believe there's a lot to be said, but I will say nothing instead. There we go. I think that's the way you should say it. Thank you, dear friends. I have now absorbed. I have absorbed those hella jellies, and now I'm going to read what this card means. Did that come through in the wrong order? No, I read it. There's a lot to be said, but I will say nothing instead. And then I corrected and read the entire thing again. Part of me feels like I'm speaking in poem. No. Where are we going to go for the warrior women? 56. Alright. You are here for a reason. You were being called bravely to pave a path. Have you answered your highest and deepest calling? Living a heart and soul-led life is not all fluffy and smooth sailing. Living a heart and soul-led life requires courage to triumph over fear. So often our fears are the gatekeepers to our greatest gifts, and the more resistance we have towards answering a call, the more important it is to our soul's growth. Sometimes fear is an indication that we are facing the right way. Joan of Arc was known for her courage and her famous line, "I am not afraid, I was born to do this." But the thing about courage is that it's not possible without fear. So if you are feeling afraid, what is needed is courage. And courage comes from living from the heart. Think of your fears as opportunities to expand rather than things that are holding you hostage. If you look at your fears in this light, then, as uncomfortable as it might feel, no way! It's actually a sign that you are on the right track. I literally use that exact verbiage, mentioning how uncomfortable I've been as of late. That's tripping me out. No way. And I pulled this card twice. Once accidentally, and I saw it, and then I was like, no, I didn't mean to pull this card. And then I put it back in the deck, shuffled the deck, and then pulled it again. If you look at your fears in this light, seeing them as opportunities, then, as uncomfortable as it might feel, it is actually a sign that you are on the right track. Not all fluffy is rabbit. It's true. You're usually speaking in poem, I think. It's true. I try to. I enjoy it. I believe language is a form of language. What did I just say? Language is a form of language? Language is a form of singing, is what I meant to say, of course. Speaking is like a song. Right? All of us sing different ones. And you get to learn. You get to learn from your own experience. I believe language is a form of language. Yes. Yes. Fuck. Yes. That is gonna be the quote of this year. I believe language is a form of language. I want to say I believe language is a form of singing. That's what I actually wanted to say. Language is a form of singing. But I don't know if that's the correct grammar either. Right? Like we think bird song is a form of singing. surely. So in my mind, language is a form of singing too. That made me smile so hard. It is secretly profound. Language is a form of language. Maybe, even. Because I did use the word form before. It is but a form of language, ultimately. Because I can say many things without using language. How long do you think it will take the AI to understand what I just said? But you did. Took you, took you an instant. It will understand my words a long time before it can understand that, I'm sure. The grammar is correct. You can say an awful lot with your eyebrows. That, I believe, is something my dad gave me as well. I'm the only one of his kids that can do that, right? My dad also has a very expressive forehead, and he would, and I was told this as a child, after having been a baby, that he would look at me as a baby, and he would do stuff like this to me, right? So my poor baby brain was like, bro, what the fuck? I need to learn how to do that. I'm thankful for all of you. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I love you, friends. Thank you, Kristen, for joining us. Louisiana, Mojo, Sam, Who Needs Tears, and Lane. Mojo, again, Bell and Nancy. To all of the friends lurking, to all of the friends that were here in the past, no longer here, to all of the friends that will be here in what's my future, but you're now. I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. I love you, friends. I'll see you again soon. Goodbye, everybody. The rock. Goodbye. Goodbye.